The steam is still coming off this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so freshly minted that, like, he's still having to cool down, dude. He just came out of the mold, you know what I mean?
Dude, do the freshly born deer Bambi impression that you did.
Yeah. Dude, he is just getting up onto his wobbly legs for the first time, and Chris and I are going to lick all that goo off. like a mom and deer, dude. Welcome to Sat Chats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. With Sat Chats, we are building the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center to serve as your gateway to generational wealth. So if you're brand new to Bitcoin, we want to chat about sats with you. Head to satchats.com to grab your slot in the studio today. I'll be your host, Stuart Bitcoin Maxi, who wears prescription sunglasses to protect you and your loved ones from my Bitcoin laser eyes.
And I'm your co-host, Chris, founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus, Bitcoin smash buyer when my wife lets me, and now newly Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year loser. Loser. Okay, I went all the way to New York with my wife and two of my kids because I was nominated to be in this thing, and I worked to do the application and work for it. I was really excited.
Yeah.
I wanted to win so bad.
Dude.
And then I went, sat there.
Got dressed up,
got my kids dressed up.
Kids looked great.
My dad was there. Didn't win.
Didn't win. Did they announce the rankings at all, or was it just either you're the winner or that's it?
Yeah, you either won or you lost.
All right, so Chris is our resident smash buyer and the Ernst & Young runner-up of the year.
You know what? I love putting this out there publicly because, you know, this is my truth. This is my truth. I'm a runner-up, and I'm going to have to live with that for the rest of my life. We are giving away 10 million sats. 10 million. I used to sit here in this chair not that long ago and say, we're giving away 1 million sats. Mm-hmm. We gave away the million sats.
Yep.
Now we're giving away 10 million sats.
Yep.
All you have to do to enter is go to YouTube, subscribe to Sat Chats, and that's it. You're entered. Yes. You're entered.
Yeah. And by the way, you satillionaires who have been here since the beginning, we gave away 1 million sats when we reached 1,000 subscribers. Now we're giving away 10 million sats when we reach 100,000 subscribers. What do you think we're going to do next? You do that mathematics, you're going to do everything you can to get us to 100K, whether you win the 10 million or not, because you will have learned and you have been able to see what's coming after that, boy. We're also on the road to number 99, Chris and my wife. But today in the studio, we have got Bhuvish, right? Now, Bhuvish is number 84, all right?
Yep.
So you are our 84th guest. Now, Bhuvish is holding down a super special slot, okay?
First of its kind.
The first of its kind. This is a Sat Chats first. Bhuvish flew in from the state of New York, okay? Rochester. Shout out the years I spent grinding away at paychecks. He flew down from Rochester today to come be in the studio with, I would say us, but really it's Chris. And he's flying back later tonight. Like, it's crazy.
Yep.
Could you ever imagine reaching a point where someone would fly in to do the show in person?
I mean, no, but I've done this. I've done it. Like, I've flown to, you know, some little town in the middle of Arkansas so that I could meet with Walmart for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But I was selling something.
Yeah.
You're not selling anything.
Making friends.
Making friends.
Also, the other thing is started off with connecting with Chris, but went on the podcast and I was like, Stuart's got infectious energy. I gotta go hang out with him.
Yeah.
So it's not only Chris.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's what I say about Sat Chats is people come for the Bitcoin and they stay for Stuart.
Oh, Stuart go up technology.
Yeah.
So we have, you know, not only does Bhuvish hold this like first to fly in slot, but also he is an epically brand new Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
I mean, epically brand new. We bring precoiners on the show. We help them stack their first sats. We bring Bitcoiners on the show. We get their stories.
For precoiners.
But you know, like the steam is still coming off this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so freshly minted that like he's still having to cool down, dude. He just came out of the mold. You know what I mean?
Dude, do the freshly born deer Bambi impression that you
yeah. Dude, he is just getting up onto his wobbly legs for the first time, and Chris and I are gonna lick all that goo off. like a mom and deer, dude. We're gonna help him, dude. Oh my god, dude. We're gonna help him get his first meal too. It's gonna be amazing. So we're gonna get into your brand new Bitcoin story, which I'm so fascinated to hear. But before we do that, Bhuvish, help our Satillionaires out there get to know you a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on the show. Hey, Satillionaires, I'm a newbie, non-resident, very early Bitcoiner. And I'm originally from India, came to Rochester, New York for studies, got done with school in 23, spent some time in venture capital and early stage startups, worked a lot in food, agriculture, climate startups, left my previous fund last year. And now I'm building my own venture studio and a venture fund, helping early stage founders with growing startups from pre-seed stage. So
wow,
slowly learning. And that's how I got connected to Ithaca Hummus. Chris is a phenomenal entrepreneur. And if anybody smarter than me is talking about something that I don't understand, of course, I had to fly in to, read about this and talk about this and have my questions answered. But
wow.
So that was the reason why I was excited for this talk, that okay, we gotta go. But then again, as I mentioned earlier, went through the podcast and I was like, Stuart's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
this is someone I want to be friends with.
So. Dude, well, you caught me on a good day too, because I'm going nuts today, man. My energy is like up today. So what's the name of your company?
Awesome. I got you guys something.
Show and tell with Bhuvish.
So the company's name is One Venture Studio. I love zeros and ones. And it's also derived from like the One World Trade Center, also derived from like all the equations in zeros and ones. So I thought it'll be funny if I get you guys a silver coin in the Bitcoin show. So this is a small gift from me, and thank you for both of your time.
Yeah.
For both of you.
Look at this
wow.
guy.
Look at that. One Venture Studio. Show my camera, or should I show the camera over the side of my shoulder? Because you might be able to get even better right here.
That's got some weight to
right?
it.
So that does have a... Okay, all right. So we've got One Venture Studio right here. Can you see that, Jer? Okay. And this is for real silver?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
Like Jean Valjean. Ooh, listen to that. Where's my mom? She likes stacking up dimes. And now on the back here, it says, let's take it to one together. It always starts with, I see here. It always starts with a zero. Let's take it to one together.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So there's also a play on like Peter Thiel's
Yep.
0 to 1.
Yes.
Which I love.
You got it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Let's hold up and check out the case that it's coming in here, everybody. Look at that. Okay. Yeah,
Thank you
man.
very
That's
much.
awesome, dude.
And
that's
congratulations.
Silver?
Yep. Thank you.
Congratulations on the launch of
you.
of your new venture. That's man. You got a lot of fun ahead of you.
And I tell you what, before I forget, Anna Bevan, make a note for us to melt down the silver and buy Bitcoin when Bhuvish leaves.
I would expect nothing less.
Oh my God. All right. Well, tell us your Bitcoin story, man. What we want to start with is like, take us from like when when did you first hear about Bitcoin? Take us through that whole journey that you just went on.
Bitcoin first time probably heard it in 2020, 21. I'm a traditionalist, so it takes me a lot of time to adapt to newer things when it comes to like something which hangs on, like the world economy balances on and stuff like that. So read about it but never really jumped into it. Studied of course a little bit about the blockchain and the cryptographic technology and innovation part of it, but really pushed it away for the longest time until I signed up for this podcast. And I scheduling wasn't working for the virtual one, so I was just, the date was going ahead and I was studying even more. But the last 6 days I went full, like zoned in, let's just do Bitcoin for 6 days straight. So I have been like, got opened a Coinbase account. I know it's like a very newbie thing probably right now, but
That was my first purchase.
yep. So got onto Coinbase, bought the first Bitcoin, opened a Coinbase wallet, and I've just been reading about Bitcoin for the last 6 days. And I think I've touched topics on history,
Mm-hmm.
on philosophy, on human society, on the innovative part of it, and the evolution of money, probably, I think, is what has been just a consistent theme for me while I've been studying for the last 6 days. And that's like the primary thing which has stuck with me. And I've just been down the rabbit hole, man. Like it's been like I've been studying how did we move away from barter economy to the next thing, coinage, to the paper money, to gold, to Bitcoin, to everything. And I've just
Mhm.
been studying adoption rates for global population to understand. I mean, I might be going on a tangent, but like I've just been studying the evolution of money, and I've been spending a lot more energy on what the future of Bitcoin would look like. um, I'm not going a lot into depth right now with like hashing and mempool. I understand high level, but I've been spending most of my time thinking about what the future looks like and what the back history of money as a concept looks like. So I've been spending a lot more time on these themes.
One of the things that we ask Bitcoiners who come on the show to do is to give us your best precoiner pitch, is what we call it.
Absolutely. So it's pretty straightforward. Evolution of money. We started off with the word efficiency. That's the word that's been coming to my mind when I think about digital currencies, because we started off with barter economy, and then we started off with saying, okay, these goats are equal to like 2 grains of, 2 bag of grains, and carrying that and transacting that is just inefficient and heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved into coinage, and then carrying that and moving that is inefficient. Then we moved into credit cards and paper money and all of that stuff. And even though we are using it right now, if you really, really look at it, it is inefficient. So I think the evolution of money into digital currency is solely on the back of how efficient it is. The adoption is different than efficiency right now. Of course, people, when they were moving from barter economy to coinage to all these other segments, the adoption rate was still what we see right now. So there's not much difference. First, only the 6 to 10% of people were jumping into the newer system of money. So I think the precoiner pitch would be, it's just efficient.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It solves what the concept of money was made for in a much more efficient way. And if in future there is a better efficient way than this, sure, people would jump again. But as of now, there's 7 to 8% global adoption, and I feel pretty confident that it would pick up into like a global adoption, which will make people realize who are not spending much time into it that this is actually an efficient way to transact or
Mm-hmm.
to store value or to do whatever. So I would say it's on the basis of efficiency over everything, even including trust. For me, I think Bitcoin started off with um, the global currency market going down and people losing trust. It started off with building trust amongst this, and trust is absolutely necessary because it's decentralized and everything, but it's just efficient.
Yeah.
So my one word pitch would be, it's efficient, just easier to transact.
Yeah, that's
Gosh,
incredible,
great
dude.
pitch.
A bit and Bitcoin. I thought you were going to say, well, I love zeros and ones, and it's just zeros and ones, guys. Like, jump on in here. Like, it's the only money that's just exclusively made of zeros and ones, y'all.
Yeah.
But, Bitcoin is efficient because you can transact anywhere, anytime, with anyone without needing permission from someone else to do it. And when, the one of the use cases for Bitcoin that first stood out to me was the global remittance use case, where we have so many people who come to America from other places, and they become wealthier than the people they left behind. And one way that they can support those people is just to take the money they're earning in America, which, even though it's fiat currency, it's probably the best fiat currency there is. It's paper, but it's probably still the hardest paper you can find. So you send back a portion of your earnings to them, and it goes further for them than it would for you. And there's so many people that are coming to more developed nations and kind of sending money backward where they came from, but they're doing it through these incredibly inefficient means like Western Union, or those money transmitters that are still kind of like and they're taking their cut, right? So the fact that you can just send money directly to your loved ones in 10 minutes, paying only a small fee, is incredible, right? And so it's very efficient to move your money around the globe with Bitcoin, but it's also efficient because it just conserves it stores your value. You know what I mean? Like, when I think about paper currency, I think about the organization that controls that currency, the government, effectively printing more of it whenever they want, right? And the three of us are working for something that they can print for free. And when they spend more than they have, they just print the difference, right? So you talk about efficiency, right? You can picture paper money as a candle. And when you light the candle, the wick comes alive. You get that nice gentle glow, and it fills the room with light. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to fill the room with light, okay? But what's happening? You're actually losing a portion of the energy the candle is creating in the form of heat, right? The heat dissipates off, and it is an inefficient method of lighting a room. The same way paper currency is an inefficient way of creating a monetary system. Bitcoin ain't no heat loss, baby. It is like lighting a candle and a dang laser beam rockets off into the sky that is as cold as ice, man. Absolutely all the monetary energy is captured, and none of it is lost in the form of heat. So it's efficient in more ways than one.
Well, let's also use the example of Western Union, right? Which, for obvious reasons, like fees on my side, on their side, I could try to send $100 and it'd take me $200 to do it, right? But look at ACH. It's like, so you can help me transfer $10,000 across the world? Yeah, we can do that for you. Oh, you mean so I'm going to click the button and then because it's all digital anyway, I'm going to click the button and you're going to do, well, it'll take, a few business days. I'm like, okay, so 3 business days. Well, 7 to 10 business days. Oh, okay, but 7 to 10 business days, but you're just going to do it. Well, there's also a fee. And it's like, why are they holding the money for 7 to 10 business days? So they can make money on my money. It's not cool. It's inefficient.
And charge you a fee.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on?
We can send information anytime we want. For free. But when it's financial information, it's slow and costs money, huh?
There's all these trolls on the bridge wanting to grab out of your bag.
Yeah, what about my slice? You've mentioned something that I want to unpack a little bit, Bhuvish, is the thinking you've been doing about the future and the philosophical aspects of Bitcoin, along with this adoption rate business that you've mentioned a few times. What have you found in your exploration of adoption rates? And what do you think the future looks like with Bitcoin?
So two themes of questions came out of that, and I was hoping to brainstorm and find an answer to that. So my first challenge with Bitcoin is that Bitcoin consumes energy, of course. And my perspective, I eventually want to move back to India and serve my country with whatever I can do. India is not 100% electrified.
Mm.
And now with Bitcoin being an energy dependent source, I mean, it's energy required. Um, there will be eventual wealth inequality for people who have access to mine Bitcoin versus people who cannot mine Bitcoin. Whereas now, if I am still sending money to India, or if somebody's transacting in India, they still have to pay for the fees associated with transaction, but they cannot earn the rewards through mining because energy and equipment. So the tilt or the wealth inequality in the future, and again, this is coming more from because I want to serve India, so I'm more, the perspective is from there. So US is the highest energy consumption. After that is China for Bitcoin, and Kazakhstan for hydropower in top five. And but that's where my mind is going. Like,
Okay.
in an eventual scenario down the line, won't there be wealth inequality, or the rich and poor gap would just increase more?
Well, what is preventing the regions of India that don't have electricity from having electricity?
I mean, the short answer is risk capital. America has been fortunate enough that they have, or maybe they've used a lot of debt to, um, pour capital into the markets, and there's just more appetite for risk over here. And the first 20-30 years, and America's a 200 more than 200-year-old country. India's like 70-ish. So first we got to figure out like a population to feed, and get them a roof, get them medical. Electricity is of course up there, but figuring that out for 1 billion people, after that is when our innovation, or our uh, other stuff would come up, right? Like chat gpt chappy.
Chappy, yeah! Shout out Chappy!
So Chappy uses up like so much energy.
Yeah.
And my mind directly goes on to, why do we not have a Chappy competitor from India? Because we don't have energy to do that.
Okay.
So do you think that Bitcoin could actually help get energy to some of these areas of India that don't have it?
100 million billion %.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second.
Okay. Well, first of all, there's a couple layers here, Bhuvish. Number one, hard money is superior, period. And if India can adopt a hard money, then they will prosper, period. That's it. Because so long as Narendra is running out them rupees like they going out of style, then all the rupees that your countrymen are working for are just melting away in their hands, okay? They're just straight flowing down the Ganges, brother. I'll see you later. So if India can adopt, or at least in this case, individual citizens can adopt a hard form of money. And I know there is some gold culture in India as well, because we had number 51 Pallavi, who felt burdened by the fact that she had to continue holding her grandmother's gold jewelry when she saw no use to it and couldn't sell it, couldn't do anything with it. And
well, she could, but she just won't because of her cultural norms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know that Indians, at least from Pallavi's perspective, will look to gold as a form of savings, long-term savings, because they must recognize that the rupee isn't that great, or it might be coming from a longer tradition that just hasn't fully gone away in the face of fiat currency. But even better than gold is Bitcoin. And if you send Bitcoin back to your friends and family and they start stacking sats, they will prosper. Individual Indians can prosper. And over time, you might have a scenario like in America where cities, counties, states, and eventually the entire government considers stacking some sats, right, in the name of the people. So Bitcoin will help India on a base layer, no matter what, because it is quite simply superior. That could help India develop more of its own infrastructure simply because it will grow wealthier over time and be able to invest. But Bitcoin might also directly help with your energy problem. And here's how. Bitcoin is powered by energy. Cool. There's only so much energy in the world, right? So eventually Bitcoin could boil the oceans or gobble up all the energy. And Chappie is also, she always hungry, right? So we need energy, correct? Yeah. Okay, cool. Number one, there's energy exploding outward everywhere at all times, to the tune of 500,000 tons of hydrogen a second. It's called the sun. Mm-hmm. And if we can capture that energy, we could drive that into Bitcoin. We could drive that into AI, wind, water, right? I mean, the sun and the earth are both great engines that produce energy. For whatever reason, we feel like it's cool to dig up fossils from the dinosaur era and light them on fire and send them into the atmosphere. But energy is everywhere if we can harness it. Bitcoin works best with cheap energy. The reason why Chris and I don't have a mining rig back behind the Mac is because energy in America is expensive, right? So when you're a proper Bitcoin miner, you seek out cheap energy. Now, a couple of examples of cheap energy would be the waterfall in Paraguay, the waterfall in Bhutan, the volcanoes of El Salvador, right? And I believe Iceland is using its geothermal pools,
yes,
to mine Bitcoin, right? So you are forced as a Bitcoiner to seek out cheaper and cheaper forms of energy. Now, where is the cheap energy? It ain't in America. It ain't in the United Kingdom. It ain't in La France, right? It's in India. It's in China. It's in South America. It's in the underdeveloped spaces because for whatever reason, the way fiat currency works, you know, our currency just wrecks yours. So we can buy a bunch of your energy for not that much of our money. Now, that might not sound very hot, but here's what happens. Projects that require a certain amount of money to even get underway can be powered by Bitcoin. Because if you have a rural stretch of India that is energy rich, but the surrounding population doesn't have too terribly much use for electricity. And this happens in Africa, for example, where they have a waterfall and they have a power station and they send the power out and nobody picks it up. Not a soul. They're like, we don't even use smartphone. We don't need this. We don't need this. So there's energy that is trapped in certain places that's not even being sent anywhere because electricity can't go that far before it starts to degrade. So someone in India might say, well, it'd be nice to get more energy here, but there's not enough demand and it's too expensive to get started. But guess what? A Bitcoiner shows up and he says, hey, I can help you out with that.
I could take 90% of it just by mining. We'll send the other 10% out.
I'll help build it. I'll get that energy. I can guarantee you 100% will be sold, okay? Because sometimes you set up an energy station and only a portion gets sold and it can't sustain itself and it goes down. The miner says, tell you what, while this is still like a deer getting up on its legs, all right, I will make sure it's okay. I will buy 100% of this energy. And as the surrounding population cues into how neat it is to have light and electricity and washers and dryers and things like that, smartphones, computers, you can sell that off. And I'll buy 99%, 95%, 90%, 75%, right? And they can help make energy projects affordable and profitable and sustainable from the very beginning. It keeps going, Bhuvish. Once that is established, okay, and the surrounding population needs the electricity, then you have situations where they use a bunch during the day and not a bunch at night. And the energy power station is like, well, it's better if we can sell 100% of this 100% of the time. Well, the miner says, I'll buy all of it at night. You have a guaranteed customer because I can turn that energy into money, period. I'm literally making money, right? So I'll pay you in exchange for making money. And you have situations where it can balance the grid. And when there's a massive power outage, they quit, or when there's a massive power demand, they pull back. So it makes energy projects around the world affordable. And actually, Bitcoin is best suited for the global South and other underdeveloped countries because, money that is not the dollar is not as good as the dollar. So you have even more incentive to get your booty out of the rupee as quickly as you can and into Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin can help your energy infrastructure and so on and so forth, man. So over time, I believe that the underdeveloped nations will become better than the developed nations because we are fat and lazy and our money works. So why should we adopt this new form of digital money that's crazy and I don't understand it? But people in other countries are like, dude, the Argentine peso is inflating at 60% a month. I'm out of here, And over time, you'll see there's a giant wealth transfer that's going from the developed nations to the underdeveloped ones because you all are figuring out Bitcoin first.
And because energy is just cheaper there.
Yes. So how do you feel about that now that you've heard?
So I do have some thoughts on that. Again, the risk capital. If there are energy programs which are established in India, first they're going to go towards, or any underdeveloped nation or developing nation, they're going to go towards first providing subsidized electricity or whatever to the houses or the population there. The risk capital that is needed to invest in the infrastructure, the ASICs and whatever machines. Again, there's so much need of capital in the developing nations that whatever the Bitcoin rigs or whatever, they're all going to come through either the miners based in the developed regions or ones who have the fiat power to go ahead and buy it over there. Again, of course, I mean, I like your answer that, it's going to bridge the gap a little bit, but in the long run, I still feel that there will be wealth inequality because in the end, that Bitcoin, because of the cheap energy, is going to go back to developed nations. Because I was looking at an entrepreneur who raised $500,000 or so. And their idea was basically to partner with Ethiopia, get a PPA, power purchase agreement at a cheaper cost, and mine Bitcoin there. They're a US-based C Corp who have raised that capital over here. They're just utilizing cheap energy there, but the Bitcoins are going to go into their accounts based in the US. Of course, Ethiopia, the regional population is going to benefit from it, no doubt about it. But in an eventual society where Bitcoin will be the standard, like remove everything else, like in future when only Bitcoin is going to be used, in that scenario, it would already be, established that, okay, whoever has the highest Bitcoin because of these activities over the years, even if it is transferred down or whatever, how will we break that cycle is what I'm thinking on. And I've been studying on the adoption from previous money concepts to try and, mess with Chappie to, brainstorm with Chappie that, hey, what will happen in this scenario? What will happen in this scenario? But that's where I'm stuck at. Again, I've just been like going Bitcoin for 6 days. So I'm going to keep going on it. But I like where your mind went when I said energy and how it would help underdeveloped nations as well.
Yeah.
So.
Bitcoin is the tide that will lift all boats. However, wealth inequality is not our responsibility.
Fair.
And it is, in fact, largely a result of an unequal system.
Yep.
So when we think about the bartering system, if my goats are more valuable than your grain, then I'm going to get more of your grain from my goat. And that's all there is to it. It is not equal by design. That is how the economy works. It is not equal. And if I am doing something more valuable than you, then I should have more value than you do. And I don't think anybody is necessarily upset with a world where all the rules are fair and plain for everyone to see. The problem is we have gone on a journey that ultimately resulted in a scenario where the wealth inequality is not necessarily underdeveloped nations versus developed nations. I mean, that is there and that exists, but it's like It's the inequality between you and your government. Because again, we are working for something that they can print for free. They can just make it. That's not equal.
Yep. 100%.
And there will be wealth inequality in the future, but it's going to be between people with Bitcoin and people who do not have Bitcoin, right? So for me, I don't think money is going to solve wealth inequality, but I do think that Bitcoin can create the same playing field for everyone. And to an extent, history is going to make it to where, America gets out ahead again, right? Because since we're out ahead in fiat world, we can use all these things to get energy from other nations and mine Bitcoin that comes back to us. And, I get that. But over 1,000 years, Bitcoin is going to reshape the world. And whoever provides value to the Bitcoin network will get Bitcoin.
There's a book, pretty standard. Most people know it. Wealth of Nations, Invisible Hand of Capitalism is what you were talking about, that it's eventually, if the goat is expensive than grains, of course, there's no, but this brings me to like my, another set of thought piece, which I was going on. If you'd like to, okay, I'll just run it and then go from there. So with why does America still have gold bars when it doesn't back fiat? Why does every other country has gold reserves, or Pallavi still holds gold? I've been thinking a lot on that because in the end, nobody's backing it. Then why is America holding it? And it is expensive to hold it, expensive to liquidate it, expensive everything. But it's a strategic, it's a prestige thing. It's a hedging against, or, the fiat stuff.
If gold doesn't back anything, why do countries still have gold?
Well, because it still has value. And because they stockpiled it and want to keep their stockpile. But honestly, if I was the U.S. government, I'd be dumping all my gold and buying Bitcoin.
Dude,
I would
100%.
dump all my gold.
Yeah. Countries still hold gold because gold has been money for thousands of years,
Like
and it still is money.
Yeah,
it still is money, and it's fine. It's, it can be. It's okay to have more than one type of money, just in case something goes wrong. It's all good. But to Chris's point, the first country to dump their gold and use it to buy Bitcoin is going to love their freaking life. So they still hold gold because gold is still money. Bitcoin is just better money. You know what I mean? Paper is like a razor scooter. Gold is like a nice, dependable car. Bitcoin is a rocket ship, or just, quite frankly, teleportation. Just So why have bad money when you can have good money? Why have good money when you can have great money? I do believe that individual nation states are going to try as hard as they possibly can to figure out how they can still issue money for you to use.
Yeah.
Okay. Every single time an aging pop star confronts a brand new pop star, they try to do a collab with the new pop star so that people know that they're still a pop star. You know what I mean? Like the nation state's going to be doing collabs with Bitcoin, like it's Madonna and Britney Spears with Christina Aguilera back in the early 2000s. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're going to be like, look, I'm still relevant and I don't look that bad even though I'm 55. Like, what's up with y'all? Like, come on, The nation state is going to try to stay as relevant as humanly possible for as long as humanly possible. They might try to adopt Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. And we're already seeing that. Next step, they might say, you know what, guys? They'll kind of recognize that they're the husband who married the wife and then let themselves get really fat and gross. And their wife is like actually seeing that she could do a whole lot better. So they like start to try to lose weight and take their wife out on more dates, but it's just too damn late. Like, the nation state might say, look, guys, So yes, we went off a hard money standard, and we unpegged our dollar from gold, and of course it was 50 years of madness. That's on us. My bad. We gained a little bit of weight, okay, but we still love you a whole lot, and we want you to stick around. So they're gonna say, you know what? We're gonna tie the U.S. dollar back to something hard. And in this case, it's gonna be the Bitcoin that we have in our reserves. And they might do that through a stable coin. Okay. So that the U.S. dollar is basically represented by a stable coin, and then the stable coin is backed by Bitcoin. So they might say, look, come on back, we got our groove back, y'all. You can trust us. But for me, I'm like, no, I can't. I can't trust you because you all are degenerates and you're horrible at managing money.
It's like Anthony Weiner, like after the third sexting scandal. And his wife is finally like, no, I'm done.
No, we're done here.
Yeah.
We're done here. You know what I mean? You said trust is very important. You don't have my trust when it comes to money management. Okay. But they're going to try. And they might live for another 100 years if they do that. But eventually, I think Bitcoin will simply remake Earth. And my hope is that when the last Satoshi is awarded to a miner for solving a block, and we hit 21 million, the only real currency is Bitcoin. And we earn in sats, we save in sats, we spend in sats. Because you want to talk about efficiency, it's incredibly inefficient to have over 100 different paper monies flying around the earth. And there's like 200 some odd nation states last time I checked, so it's probably more than 100. It doesn't make any sense. Why not just take a gold coin and spend it in America and take the same gold coin and spend it in Europe and take the same gold coin and spend it in India and take the same gold coin, spend it in China? Why do we even need more than one kind of money?
Well, manipulation or theft. So that the people that sit in the middle can take their cut. But yeah, I mean, the U.S. is going to try. But again, going back to the efficiency example, that doesn't sound like a very efficient system.
Exactly.
Stable coin that's backed by Bitcoin. Well, let's just use the Bitcoin. Eventually it will go that way.
Yeah.
So last question on that theme.
Okay.
All 21 million Bitcoins are mined. Miners get rewarded based on the mining fees. That stops. Now it's on the processing of transactions on the blocks where they're making money.
Yeah.
Right. And it will still get difficult with time to process those transactions and put it in the block and do that for the transaction, because only transactions would exist after that, right?
Right.
And it would get tougher with time. Won't there be inflation in terms of the fees? Because we'll have to reward the miners to continuously do the mining so that we can all transact in a world economy. And won't that be inflation of sorts, where we are paying higher fees because now it's difficult and they are not adequately rewarded because mining has stopped? So just that's where I've stuck. But I'm going to spend like a month just studying and going down Bitcoin.
And we would love to hear your ideas on these. Are great questions.
Yeah. And are we keeping my thoughts for the next time he shows up on the show? Let's do that.
Oh no.
Yeah. So you go off and learn more about this. And when you come back on in 9 months, we'll drop our sauce and compare it to yours.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go into the rabbit hole and just But the way you explained stuff, Stuart, that was so nice. Like, oh my God. That was
Thank you.
The examples you were giving and the way you were explaining it.
Good job, brother.
Well, smash the subscribe button if you can't wait for us to talk about how the mining and the Bitcoin economy is going to work when miners are only living off the transaction fee. First of all, we do so we're not going to be able to talk. We're not going to be able to fit everything about Bitcoin into a single chat about Sats. That's why we ask all of our guests if they'd be willing to come back on in 9 months to give us an update on their baby Bitcoin deer. So, Bhuvish, would you be willing to come back on in 9?
So I'm making like 15 YouTube accounts and enrolling and subscribing on Sat Chat.
Yeah.
So that my chances to win the 10 million Sats increase. Of course, I'm gonna come back in 9 months if you guys would have me. And
Yeah.
I mean, I would come tomorrow to just hear your answer, but, but let me think a little bit more
Yeah.
on stuff. But yeah, I'd be happy to, man. 100%.
Cannot wait.
I love
Cannot
that.
wait.
So let's recap the conversation with Bhuvish here. So Bhuvish was born in India, right? And you came over to America for education. You did your undergraduate, and you were done around 2021. You did a graduate program at the Rochester Institute of Technology up until 2023. You spent some time in venture capital, I believe, at a fund. And you've got this kind of entrepreneurialism. You have a bold, action-taking kind of juju going on here. And you have this kind of fantastic optimism that we love to see, right? Because there are very many people who just kind of feel like everything's all messed up and there's nothing they can do. And it's just not true. You can take individual action. So you did. You left the fund. You started your own venture capital fund here. And we'll get that back in there. One Venture Studio. Okay. And we love that. And we got it right here on silver. Catch it on camera now because it's going to be on the blockchain tomorrow. So you shared your brand new Bitcoiner story, which was super dope, right? You heard about it 2020, 2021. But as a traditionalist, you need some time. And booking yourself on our show was the catalyst that got you to start your journey. You went 6 days all in. You watched number 62, Jeff Booth, which is boom. Anything anybody should need to realize that Bitcoin is the GOAT.
Gotta watch the episode.
You worked with Chappie, you read, you did all this work, right? To recognize that Bitcoin touches on all of humanity, history, economics, politics, society, culture, efficiency, concepts, right? All of it, energy. It's literally all of it. And then you went on Coinbase. Shout out dude who founded Coinbase,
Brian Armstrong. Brian,
come on the show because Coinbase has been putting out some absolute fire commercials.
Really good.
And we get that you're trying to get your groove back, okay? So
Maybe
you're Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
Come do a collab with Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, bro. Come on the show. So anyways, you went on Coinbase, you made your account, you got some Bitcoin. I did the same thing. My very first purchase was on Coinbase. We got number 77 Quahana set up on Coinbase. It's fine. Over time, you'll realize that going to the grocery store and buying a tub of Ithaca hummus and leaving it in the cold case where it was doesn't make any sense.
You got to put it in your own fridge.
Yeah. You'll get there. You'll realize that you want to go to the grocery store. You want to get a tub of Ithaca hummus. You want to take it home with you. You want to put it in your fridge. But you got started. You had some questions about Bitcoin. Will it lead to wealth inequality? They're already wealth inequality, bro. And that's always been. Now, I feel like wealth inequality is not only a feature of economy, the concept, but it's been unfairly exacerbated by fiat currency printed out into infinity by 200 plus nation states,
100%.
right? So if you could adopt a hard money standard, a lot of that inequality would boil out very quickly. And you would start to see where the true centers of value actually lie. And I would love to explore that world together with you over the next century. Am I right?
100%.
We also talked about how Bitcoin will lift all boats. Everyone who adopts Bitcoin will start to build generational wealth, but also Bitcoin miners, whether they are from India or whether they're a bunch of 10-gallon hat wearing cowboys from Texas coming to gobble up your energy, they're going to fund projects that are going to help developing nations create energy for themselves. And then they can dial down over time as you need more and more, because by then it'll be too expensive for them to keep buying anyways, but not so expensive for you to use for your daily use. So they'll move on. They'll say, all right, they'll move on to the next place, right?
They're market makers, essentially. Yeah.
And whoever creates Iron Man's form of energy, the self-sustaining little whatever that thing is, he's going to strap a Bitcoin miner to that. He's going to be the man, right? We're going to create new forms of energy to mine Bitcoin. Mark my words, okay? And if you're that guy, you're going to want to go ahead and contact One Venture Studio to get, some funding for that project. Am I right?
Yeah.
Squing. Somebody put like a bing, a little glint on my smile, right? And then we dug into basically that Bitcoin mining experience in the far future. How can this possibly continue along in a sustainable way? And when Bhuvish comes back on in 9 months, we're about to find out. So I'll turn it over to you, Chris.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break from our hummus sponsor, who you know well. We've got Ithaca hummus here. We've got the black bean flavor, which I'll place there. We can kind of pass this around.
Yep.
Have you had the black bean before?
I don't think I've had. I've had the lemon garlic.
Yeah.
I believe that was your first flavor, right?
Yeah.
Should I go for it?
Yeah.
Yes, but let's all eat it at the same time.
We'll all load up.
So first of all, get yourself a fat glob.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Get yourself a fat glob, right? Because we want to really load you up with that. Yeah, now that's a fat glob. Let's go.
Yeah.
Get in there.
I'll
Let me get some of this woven wheat over here. This was how Lion did it with number 83 Aladdin, literally.
Wow.
So let's get you a fat glob right here. All right. Hey,
Let's
cheers.
go, guys.
Cheers. Whoa. It's been a minute for me. But man, the
Can
black. What do you think?
Can I have another one?
Yeah. Yeah. And tell us what you think about that.
Man, the explosion.
Explosion.
Seriously.
Seriously.
Flavor explodes.
Yeah.
Such good black bean flavor, right?
Yeah.
In the future, without money or crypto, we should just trade hummus.
Whoa. Hot take right there.
Hot take. Some people have said we should offer $50 worth of Ithaca hummus
As a third option.
as an option.
Yeah. Ithaca hummus available at Whole Foods, Tops, Price Chopper, Wegmans, all up in your area. All right. So we've got your choice of $50, 50 government tokens,
The wealth inequality is built in.
or $50 in Bitcoin. We've got 47,700 sats, or 50 government tokens.
So initially, I put up the government dollars, but 6 days of studying, and I'm still experimenting my truth with Bitcoin. So if you would have offered me 10 grand or $1 million, whatever, some absurd number in fiat versus this, I would have gone for fiat. But for $50, I'm more on the optimistic side that Bitcoin will go to the moon. So
Stacking the
Yes.
sats. Go.
I'll take the sats.
That's amazing.
Let's go.
Now, to all our future sponsors out there who are thinking about sponsoring our show, Bhuvish just said that in his intake form, he selected cash. Pay me in cash.
Yeah.
But after one chat about sats, what did he do? He stacked the sats. And what's he going to do next? Go buy some more on an exchange. And you could be that exchange. If you are somewhere here, okay, if you were in our mouths, just saying. Now, I'll leave you all with that one, okay? Brian Armstrong's like, no. Bhuvish is coming to me, okay? All right, but listen, Brian, if you want more people to come to you, okay, we'll take a phone call, all right? Now, thank you for stacking the sats, Bhuvish. You bring our show scoreboard to 77 guests who have stacked the sats, along with 7 who need a little bit more time.
Take your time. Take
and
your time.
we love them. We embrace them. We're here for them. And we're going to be there when they come on back.
Yep,
okay?
Yep.
This is the part of the show where we ask you Satillionaires for your value in exchange for ours. What do we value? YouTube subscriptions.
And watch hours, please.
What are we willing to give you in exchange for your subscription? One chance at 10 million sat. And a 1 in 100,000 chance is superior than any lottery that I've ever found.
Period. And it's free. You
Yeah.
don't even need to buy a ticket. You just have to hit the subscribe button.
Ain't even nothing to scratch off. So smash the subscribe button so that you are among the first 100,000, because this show's going to the moon and you really won't have that much time left.
Yeah.
And you can support the show in a couple of different ways. You can come on the show like Bhuvish did, satchats.com to grab your slot. You can zap us on the Lightning Network if you so please. Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Don't be begging out here.
I'm not begging, but if you want to support us,
sovereign. We are sovereign.
Yeah. But we literally just took money from this guy. So
But we didn't ask for it.
We didn't ask for it, and I'm not asking you, but if you want to, we do have a Lightning address and a Bitcoin address. But how about this? If you want to support our show, you can go down into the show notes below. Okay?
There's something there for you.
There might be a little something there for you.
Message.
Give me your Bitcoin. All righty then.
Yeah.
So, Sat Chats is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice. Also, our guests' views are their own. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you.